Hello, baby. My name is Anthem. Welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich. Let's continue on for the last left off. So, Kornilov is dead. Leader of the Socialist Revolutionaries. They're no longer with us, unfortunately. And it has kind of thrown Russia into a little bit of chaos. Just a tad, though. Just a little bit. But let us continue on here. There's already a putsch. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll look at that in a second. The unemployment spike. People at the high risk are being laid off are those on the payroll of German-owned corporations, but the effect is obviously spread to more patriotic companies. It's not only a matter of employers closing down their businesses, but also losing their contracts and customers. Many industrial sectors in Russia still rely on German trade, despite attempts towards self-sufficiency by the SZRS's economic reforms over the past year. As orders have dried up, the workers have lost their jobs. As fewer people have money to spare, the demands for goods crumble lower and lower. And the Kornilov putsched. Cornered, the dog was forced to act. Too much surprise. Kornilov agreed to come to the Kremlin personally. After leaving the headquarters of the military district, Kornilov slipped past his intended government escort and instead headed directly to the Kremlin. He was accompanied by a company of Yunker cadets from the Alexandrov and Buchanan military academies as an obviously pre-planned move. Upon arriving, he ordered the Special Purpose Battalion tasked with guarding the Kremlin to secure the Senate Palace and ensure the safety of the president with the support of the cadets. However, Kornilov's hubris proved to be his downfall, as much as it was Bordalev's before him. When only a portion of the security battalion agreed to follow his orders, fierce fighting soon broke out within the Kremlin, as Kornilov forced his attempt to arrest the soldiers who refused to obey orders, claiming that they were only loyal to Savinkov. Much of the Kremlin complex fell rapidly, smashing through the gates of the Spatskaya Tower. Kornilov's troops reached the Senate Palace, where they were finally stopped by dogged loyalist resistance by the MVD troops long enough for reinforcements to arrive from the capital's garrisons. It was said that Savinkov followed the fighting within the Kremlin with glee on his face, but it is more plausible that he had already left the complex by that point. Kornilov himself was wounded by a grenade and taken prisoner in the Senate Palace, while the rest of the mutineers were shot on the spot. Simultaneously, the Organada moved to arrest the traitors within the military district headquarters. Now, the uncrowned military dictator of Russia is rotting in Bolshevika prison, and no official statement of the events of the night have been given. What will fall on him? I mean, only death to traitors, right? We gotta do a little bit of culling here, and we do have another spy. Let's send you to White Ruthenia. I think seems okay. Insufficient resources. We're actually importing too much aluminum. So we'll get rid of this. I think if we fixed this last episode, but I actually did not save properly. Because I am bad at, everything. Bad at my job. Okay, well, let's get the, rubber from the Prince Federation. And two things, to also note is one, Kiva is our puppet state. I don't know when that happened. I don't know if, like, they started as our puppets, or if they've done, you know, that they had some event. I'm not too sure. But also that, like, Turkestan and Bukhara down here, they all got focus trees, which, I mean, good for them. So maybe we'll give them a try one of these days as well. Again, it's very funny that Bukhara over here has a focus tree for Hungary does. That's okay. At this point, I honestly don't know if they're ever going to add focus trees to Hungary, Croatia, you know, Bohemia, and the like. It seems at this point impossible. Like, it's never going to happen. But we've enough points for a political advisor. We gotta make... Okay, I don't actually know which we want. I mean, I'm leaning more towards the Solarist, just because, I mean, they have better modifiers. So we'll probably kind of try to swing in that direction. Cost of going to the people, influence Poland are permanently reduced by 25. The Russian Poland division will be raised when the war begins. Brilliant lawyer. Oh, stability, 5%. It's not that great. Non-core manpower. Savinkov's shadow. Political power gain. The Prince of Terror. Reformist. Cavalry attack doesn't seem that great. Party popularity stability modifier plus 20%. I think can definitely... Yeah, so let's get you in here as well. It's also a little bit extra war support. I think that seems good. Again, as we get more popular, which we should do once we, like, establish the dictatorship of Savinkov, should boost our popularity even more. So it's like basically, right now, at least, it's like a 5% and 12%, give or take. Which I will definitely take. I'm also, let's get rid of all this stuff for now. A revolver with a single bullet. A newspaper was delivered to Kornilov's cell yesterday. The former Minister of War was greeted by a headline announcing not only his culpability in Chernov's killing, but also his treasonous coup attempt. Along with the newspaper, a revolver with a single bullet was delivered to the cell. Despite his crimes, a hero of the Civil War deserved a chance to keep his honor intact. At last, 2 Ukraina officers who arrived at the cell a few hours later found Kornilov very much alive. According to one of the officers, Kornilov said something to the effect of, "If Savinkov wants me dead, let him do it himself." A subsequent visit several hours ago found Kornilov dead in his cell without a visible cause, or at least none which appeared in the post-mortem reports. Per the prison's doctor's statement, his death was likely a combination of age and stress. The opposition and sizable portion of the public have taken the news of Kornilov's death in stride. Justice has been served for high treason, even without a trial. The reaction among the military is decidedly more somber. Many officers and soldiers are defiantly mourning their late commander with black armbands. More ominously, the Ukraina reports indicate that few in the military have taken the SZRS's claim of Kornilov's guilt seriously, and rumors are flying that the government was complicit in framing him. Okay, so the military is going to become a little bit more angry. We've lost our field marshal, but he is replaceable. Republican officer. Okay, so you're Republican, which sounds bad. He's loyal to republicanism, although not necessarily democracy. Interesting. And you're monarchist, which is what I don't want. So you know what? Maybe Denikin will side with us. Again, we're not going to go monarchist, so he should not like hate us too much. And we've now finished up with the Third Europe. Sponsor Belgrade. I mean, that does sound like something I want to do. We can also make some trade agreements with the International, which is consumer goods minus 7.5%. We have to give them oil, but if France accepts, okay, so it's better if they both accept, which I mean is fair. We'll gain, yeah, so they get oil. Okay. I mean, I guess they could also theoretically say no, but we'll lend a hand out to the French and the British. They will nominally be our ally during the Second Krieg, so I mean, it makes sense giving them some oil. Maybe they can build up their stockpiles. I don't know what they're going to do with it. That's not my my prerogative there. The last journey of Kornilov. Regardless of the murky details around Kornilov's coup, okay, I just want to make sure that's actually recording, which I am. Good. Regardless of the murky details around Kornilov's coup, he was deemed to deserve a state funeral as one of the foundational giants to whom all of Russia owes a great death. And even in death, the fallen general can serve the propaganda purposes of a new Russia, turning the funeral into a solemn celebration of the white cause. The white birch coffin was escorted by soldiers in the former Korvalites of the volunteer army in their black uniforms and bright red capes. They were followed by formations in their parade uniforms. Many of Kornilov's brothers-in-arms, then the SZRS's own marching unit, and finally, thousands of veterans and admiring citizens following the procession. Vladimir Georgievich Kornilov, the Minister of War in the Russian Republic, Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Armed Forces, and General Field Marshal of the Russian Army, was laid down in the bosom of the motherland. General Field Marshal Anton Denkin held a speech in honor of the fallen soldier at the Novodoshki Cemetery. Doom is unforgivable and merciless. It spared for many years the life of a man who looked hundreds of times. I'm going to repeat this whole thing. Doom is unforgiving and merciless. It spared for many years the life of a man who looked hundreds of times into death's own eyes. But in the end, death struck him and the soul of the army in the hours of greatest anguish. The mystical veil of eternity was dictated in paths and accomplishments with an unknown will. Our beloved leader, who has led us to victory for 20 years, is dead. The name of this fighter is Russia's desecrated land is written in the fiery letters in the annals. It cannot be wrestled from our memories. Many of the following eulogies from other members of the High Command recall personal experiences of fighting with the stubborn old veteran. To SZR's embarrassment, the funeral was practically hero worship, with the military essentially ignoring the coup attempt. The opposition hardly cared about the funeral either, with many likely welcoming the death of an arch-reactionary with an open heart. So we can honor him, which is going to reduce their anger, or we boost our own party popularity. But right now, they are concerned. Which is not really where we want. But I will decrease them by 1 point. I think that seems okay. And we're going to go, of course, with Denikin, because we've already put him in charge. Having commanded the Russian army since the days of the Great War, Lev Kornilov's absence has left a vacancy that no small amount of effort can hope to fill. The army's mood is fractious, and we must tread carefully with the choice of successor. The army is largely divided between two men, Anton Denikin and Peter Wrangel, both of whom are among Kornilov's closest associates. Sergei Markov was briefly considered, but he quickly issued a statement declaring both the lack of interest in the position and a conflict of interest due to his close friendship with both the other candidates. Unfortunately, such a friendship cannot be said to exist between Denikin and Wrangel. Denikin, a son of peasants, earned his general accolades through the unimpeachable courage and tenacity of an elite infantryman and artillery officer. Disdainful of politics, Denikin has nevertheless come to accept his place as the army's highest-ranking Republican, though he has reportedly still not become comfortable enough with politicians to shake Savinkov's hand. Meanwhile, Wrangel hails from the ancient family of Baltic German nobility, and though his merits are beyond question, he is far more comfortable with intrigue and court politics than the gruff Denikin. Wrangel's past service as the cavalry officer in the famously monarchist Guard Corps, but as a general, he has instead dedicated himself to elevating the capacities of Russia's humble conscripts, with a much more academic approach towards military affairs. Well, again, he's a German Baltic. I don't think we can even trust him, right? So I think... I mean again, you're also a 10% breakthrough. How am I going to say no to a 10% breakthrough? So yeah, we'll go with Denikin. Again, we've already put him, in charge of the army, and he's a Republican. I don't want monarchists anywhere near any kind of control or power in the country. We want to avoid that as much as we possibly can. A series of military maneuvers organized by General Field Marshal Denikin in collaboration with President Savinkov have proved to be a smash hit among both the troops and the general public. Several mock battles were held near Smolensk along Russia's western border, but Denikin favored 4th Iron Division, smashing aside the prepared defenses of the unstated enemy with regionalist collaborators. Presidents and a select press gallery were reportedly deeply impressed by the precision and impact of the army's artillery, as well as the courage of the elite shock troops following close behind the shell fire. In an unprecedented gesture, Denikin even consented to a photograph showing him firmly shaking Savinkov's hand. Sources close to the Kremlin report that the Black Baron was spotted storming out of the meeting with Savinkov. Rumors have begun to swirl that Savinkov was seduced by the prospect of grand, decisive offensive, ignoring that such rashness could only lead to disaster, given Russia's present state. It remains to be seen if Wrangel's pride will allow him to admit that he was outfoxed by the infamously straightforward Denikin. In any case, the army was already being consumed by the sorts of gossiping rumor-mongering that have all the hallmarks of Pavel Shadilov, Wrangel's chief of staff and favored spy master. Now, Denikin, if you get military angriness down 1 more point, I would appreciate it. I think that would be nice. And a state of security. Under the 1922 Constitution, Article 36 grants the President of the Republic powers to declare a state of security with the approval of the State Council. Savinkov's last attempt in 1934 to use the state of security was curbed as it did not pass the State Council, and was followed by Kornilov's warning that if the Constitution is ignored, the military will have no other option but to act. Based on the current instability, a new state of security has been declared, and unsurprisingly, it passed the State Council, where the opposition is broken. The state of security was originally added to the Constitution due to the demands of the army, who saw the need for dictatorial powers in case of communist uprising or similar public unrest. It was used to give post-facto justification for Admiral Kolchak's wartime dictatorship, and has been used in 1929 and again in 1932 to quell Tambov unrest, in practice having little to no restrictions. The state of security allows executive decrees to bypass almost all constitutional guarantees concerning personal and political freedom, prosperity, and judicial rights. The only provision for ending such a state is a vote by the State Council. Immediately after the decree, Chairman Minister Dikov announced the suspension of various civil rights, empowering the police and great expansion of powers of law enforcement to hunt down those seeking to destabilize our great Russia. As we should. As we should. We should have absolutely no internal fighting within Russia. We need a strong, unified state. Also, who's having poor supplies? Everybody would be that. Okay, so why don't we take some of you, and for right now, we'll just send you to Manchuria because I don't know where else to put you, and I don't want to have you wasting all of my supplies because I can't really afford to just be draining resources for no reason whatsoever. We're down 11,000 rifles, we're down trucks, we're down a little bit of everything, unfortunately. And right now, construction is extremely slow. We basically have 49% consumer goods. It's horrible. Shlandakov has published his Unfought War. With great fan forward, General Yakov Shlashov has published the hotly anticipated sequel to the early magnum opus, Maneuver, The Key to Victory. Titled The Unfought War, Shlashov's new book builds on the earlier theories of armored warfare, emphasizing that a rapid change in tank technology has already rendered most existing countermeasures to massive tanks obsolete. A prolific writer and professor at the Rifle Officer School in Petrograd, Shashagov has made waves both for his writing and persona. Dashing, irreverent, and hopelessly addicted to cocaine, Shashagov has become one of the most important, if controversial, members of what's come to be called the Markov School, an informal clique of reformist officers centered around the Imperial General. A firebrand proponent of mass mechanization, Shashagov grounds much of his prose in the lampooning of the tactics of his peers, a literary choice that has drawn no small amount of controversy. The book has, nevertheless, already become a bestseller. It remains to be seen where Shashkov's sights will be next. Is he one of our generals? Not too sure. I mean, the family's breaking out in Szechuan, not a big deal. I mean, when we did the third way, it said we had maybe have some new options here. We can influence Poland. Right now we have 10 power rejection. We had rifles, we can send them weapons. Presumably that would make the nationalists more popular in Poland, and maybe we could try to get them as being an ally of ours, if we're lucky. Stranglehold of German capital is still high. Land and foreign progress is still building up. Political power, and we only get like 0.55 per day, which is not where we want to be. And the need for land reform. Russia struggled with the question of how both to modernize and organize its vast countryside. Until their interruption by the Great War, the Slump-City reforms attempted to dismantle the Mir, a traditional peasant village, in favor of modern smallholders. The chaos of 1917 instead brought far more radical change: the Black Reparations. Reparations? As peasants took advantage of the breakdown of order to seize land for themselves. The subsequent SR Cadet land reforms of 1923 were as much an attempt to restore order as they were to redistribution campaign. The reforms granted villages significant autonomy, also allowing peasants to rent nationalized land at a very low price. Unfortunately, the campaign's other results were mixed. Though the peasants gained a great deal of acreage, the reforms were tarnished, not only by enormous corruption by the land committees, but also an unclear intent of who would be receiving the land. The government purchased vast tracts from landowners at below market prices, but much of it would find itself in the hands of industrialists and wealthy peasants rather than in the needy. Attempts to fix the reform's flaws crumbled under the bickering of the SRs and the cadets. President Savinkov thus found himself in an unenviable job of correcting 2 decades of old coalition shortcomings. Known as Keen for a repeat of 1932's peasant revolt in Tambov, which saw peasants gunned down after riots erupted in the wake of the cadets' refusal to renegotiate land sales. The SRS's Minister of Agriculture, Pavel Agiev, has outlined an ambitious program to correct past errors. Council of Judges, civil servants, agronomists, and surveyors will be mobilized across Russia and grant the authority to rule on cases of land division. Most are expecting the council to simply parcel out fresh land. However, meeting the peasants' wishes must be balanced with consolidating uselessly small plots into livable allotments, even if some peasants are then obligated to find work elsewhere. Land is only part of the equation. Russia's farms must be modernized and expanded if they are to feed not only the growing population, but also the state's coffers. Depending on our choices in events as land reform is ongoing, the mission will potentially grant stability, political power, and party popularity. Well, I do want all of those things. There's no denying that. We'll go straight into mechanical computing so we can get our extra research speed. And bank bailouts. Multiple banks in Moscow and Petrograd have informed the Ministry of Finance that they are rapidly running out of cash reserves, and most of their investments, often secured by German bonds, have collapsed alongside the German financial market. The news is gloomy. If the Russian state bank doesn't bail out at least the largest of these banks, the domino effect could continue uncontrollably. However, it is impossible to shelter all the banks at risk. While many financial advisors argue that the investment ability of the bank should be our priority, such a bailout would be seen as prioritizing money of investors over that of the common man. So let's see. So this is going to be political power plus 25. Black money is going to get even worse, and we get more angry. Or we lose 25 political power for party popularity. Party popularity, though, does translate into stability. So this is kind of inadvertently stability boost as well. Let's prioritize the savings of the people. Okay, well, I mean, the stability did go down. Because, I mean, the event was a stability drop as well, but it didn't go down by as much. It was only a negative 4% instead of the negative 5%. So we did save a little bit. I mean, not a ton, but a little bit. And we'll at least, before we end this episode, we'll at least see how the Franco-Russian treaty goes. Oh my god, there's 2 events immediately. Okay. Well, let's first, France, we're at peace with France. Power projection is going to change by negative 10. Add 1 land war facility in the province of the state. Tank center, approach the Entente. I mean, approaching the Entente, that's actually also a very interesting choice. This requires that the war in the United States has actually begun. But it's very interesting that we can either align ourselves more with the internationality in Europe, or we can actually align with the Entente. World tension goes down. We'll send Canada and Russia, and we'll send Canada and the French Republic weapons. Move more towards the Slaterist. And this is after the war. Additionally, depending on our leverage, we may be able to force the International, the White Peace, the Entente. That's actually a very interesting choice there. Very interesting. But you know what? We'll read these events next time. I think that, at least for right now, is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoying it, always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.